What's up everybody, Viktor here, and it's time for another nation guide, this one being for the Monarchy version of Gotland. Before I get to the guide though, I do have a bit of channel news that I wanted to talk about, though I know some of you might not want to hear it. So in the video right now, in editing, I'm going to go ahead and put in a timestamp of when I stop talking about this, so you can go ahead and just skip straight forward to the guide. For those of you that want to hear it, thank you for staying. Let's go ahead and talk. So a couple of years ago, as many of you are well aware, I went through an emergency liver transplant because my liver just shut down all of a sudden. Well, because of that happening, I didn't feel like I could really practice law and represent clients the way I felt like I needed to. So I had my license suspended because I couldn't practice. Well, a couple of weeks ago, my license was reinstated, which is why I haven't been posting anything, because I've been doing job applications and interviews all across the state and even outside of the state. Well, I now have a job offer, which means I'm about to start working. So what is the channel news? Basically, I'm not going to be able to make as many guides as I did before. Doing 120 runs or 80 runs or even 40 runs to make certain this guide works every time is not something I would be able to do every week while also working 60 hours a week. As a result, you're going to see the number of guides go down. I will still be making content, just not as many guides. So if you guys want me to cover something, because I haven't begun yet, you need to let me know now. Because I'm going to try and record a number of guides for things that people have already requested as quickly as possible before I begin. Once that happens, it might be several weeks between guides, which means you're going to be waiting far longer than you would otherwise. Other than that, that's all I really needed to talk about, so let's go ahead and begin the guide with Gotland. The first thing I wanted to point out is that this is not a no restart guide. The reason why is actually because of this first banner right here. The fact is that you can fall under a personal union if your monarch dies. He has no heir, he has no consorts. The problem is he's 62, meaning the likelihood that he's going to die really quickly is pretty high. I've had him die within the first month of the game, which means you can fall under a personal union, usually of Wolgast or Stettin. But if you get a royal marriage with anybody, it'll be with them. The thing is that you're going to be picking up allies with anybody that's rival to Denmark, and as you can see, these are fairly large powers: Poland, Lithuania, Burgundy. So if you fall under a personal union with them, it might be difficult, if not impossible, to break free and can ruin your game. So you're going to have to decide on how you want to address this, and there are two paths. The first one is simply play the game, get royal marriages, hope for an heir. Very simple. The other option is using this right here, introduce new heir. This will cost you legitimacy and prestige and give you a low legitimacy heir, but it will stop the risk that you will fall under a personal union. And as you can see, if you had a royal marriage with somebody, they would get a restoration of union CB on you, but the thing is that you don't have any royal marriages, so it's just the legitimacy and prestige. The problem is that by clicking this button, you run the risk of not being able to complete a mission. And I want to explain what that mission is so you guys understand the choice. If you're able to get all of your estates up to 60 loyalty, under 50 influence, and have 40% crown land, you can, for the rest of the game, have 10% more absolutism and less 10% influence with all of your estates. This is a very nice thing to have, but it can run a risk if you click this button. The reason why is simple. If you are under a regency from the estate, so you did not have a consort that rules after the monarch dies, and their loyalty is low, they can have a coup. And part of that event chain from these coups is that the nobility will get 25% extra crown land, making it difficult for you to hit that 40% before you're clicking this to become Denmark. So it's a risk. Either you play the game normally and just try and get an heir in time, allowing you to keep playing, or you click this button and while your ruler might die, you're safe from the falling under a personal union. You might not be able to get this mission completed. Now, if you need to restart, you can just restart. So I don't want to restart this game, so I'm clicking this button because worst case scenario, I just cannot complete this mission in time. If that's it, that's it. Now, the coup mission or the coup events can trigger and still end up resulting in you not having crown land be lost. So it is still a gamble, Just wanted you guys to be aware of the risks and rewards of both paths, so you can choose whatever you want. With that done, let's talk a bit more about this mission tree so you understand what I am doing and why I am doing it, so you guys can make the appropriate choices yourself. The first 2 missions you are aiming to complete are not the enemy of my enemy or anything else. It is simply the Emperor's Treasury and develop the city of Visby. The reason why is this will get you a ton of money, and I'll explain what you're doing for that in a second, and develop the city of Visby will give you the ability to build ships really, really quickly. And you are not going to be building anything in the meantime because while you will get faster shipbuilding, it does not apply to anything currently in production. So instead of bothering to do that, you're simply going to hold off on this, develop the city of Visby up to 15, which you can do pretty quickly, because once you turn on encourage development, you're already going to hit 13 before you even unpause the game. So a couple of months, you'll hit 15, you'll have 65% faster shipbuilding time, and you'll have the money coming in to actually build a sizable fleet through the Emperor's Treasury. So start improving with Austria, and then you're going to be worrying about everybody else. Right now, with the enemy of my enemy is just improving relations with anybody that's rivaled to or rivaled by Denmark. But find somebody that did not rival Denmark, because you can use a scornful insult to get the other ones, but those that are not on top that you want to grab, make sure you start improving relations with them. So Burgundy, I'm going to be improving relations with him until I have an extra 25. Now let's start talking about how you're going to try and get this mission done through your estates and privileges. Let me go ahead and pause the recording real quick while I end up filling this out. See you in just a second. And welcome back. So as you can see, I've seized Crown Land, but I did not summon the Diet. This will give them 5 influence, and you don't want to be waiting the 20 years for that influence to go away. You're going to instead be using Supremacy over the Crown, because that can trigger these Diet missions, and you can do it that way without getting any influence from it. Now, what did I grant? I grant Religious Diplomats, because that'll give me 25 opinion with anyone else that is also Catholic, which is all the people I need to improve relations with, and it helps accelerate things. This will not get me to the 60, but once I am ready to complete that mission, I am then going to grant the Monopoly on Wool, use it for 1 cycle before I can revoke it, so 10 years. But during that time, it'll give me an extra 10 loyalty without any influence, allowing me to hit 60 and not go over 50, so clergy is done. Nobility, it will hit over 60, but as you can see here, it is over 50. What you're going to be doing is using the first government reform to use curtail noble privileges. This will drop the influence by 10, allowing you to get the nobility done. And lastly, there's the burghers, who are just shy of being able to hit 60, but they have about 5 influence they can use for anything. And you're either going to pick up indebted to the burghers, just take out some loans and pay them back once you've completed the mission, because it'll get you over 60 but not hit the 50. Or if you want, you can do control over monetary policy if you have a lot of loans, to at least get that starting easier for your economy, and you'll get the same result. And you can revoke this right afterwards, once you have this mission completed. But now, the estates and privileges are done. Let's talk quickly about the military. All you're doing at this point is turning everything off. You're not fighting anybody, so turning them on and keeping them on is just a waste of money. And you're going to be deleting this fort, because if they land on your island, it's already over. So a fort's not going to save you in that kind of a game. Now that that's done, let's go ahead and unpause. I'll see you guys in a little bit, because I need to wait for Burgundy and Austria to be happy with me enough to give me money and ally with me. And that takes a couple of minutes. So I'll see you guys in just a second. And welcome back, everybody. So once I got Burgundy up to 75, I pulled back the diplomat, scornfully insulted Denmark, which gave me 75 opinion with Poland, allowing me to complete the enemy of my enemy mission and pick up both as allies, which I then royal married, and then I allied Stettin and royal married them as well, and Lüneburg royal marrying them as well. The reason why is because by doing so, I was able to fish for and get a consort. This is really important if you introduce an heir, simply because the coup event and disaster will only fire if you have a estate-run regency, and by having a consort, they prevent an estate-run regency unless you get a bad event. So with any luck, I have just avoided the biggest pitfall with going with that route. Means I hopefully will be able to complete this mission in this run. But now that that is done and I have 100 opinion with Austria, it's time to do the Emperor's Treasury. Always go for the top option, you do not need 20 prestige, and always accept the offer. The reason why is because this will give you a lot of money, as well as a huge income and lower maintenance, allowing you to start building up the ability to actually fight Denmark later on. And all they're asking for you to do is to give up Holstein, so release these two provinces once you've taken Denmark. Here's the thing, you're going to be delaying actually taking all of Denmark and triggering that obligation for so long that Denmark should be integrating these guys. And on top of that, you'll be able to attack them. So go ahead and accept the offer. The bottom one will just not give you any benefit, so you might as well accept it, because you'll get these provinces anyway. Now that that's done, it's time for me to pause again, because I'm going to be pulling back my diplomats and improving with both Norway and Sweden, because those are the next two that I need to get on side to complete these two missions right here. You're going to be building up 10 galleys and a handful of transports to be able to move a 10-size army, so 10 units, to anywhere you need to go without needing to make multiple trips. This will give you the strength to fight off any navy that you come across, while also giving you the ability to not constantly be shuffling troops back and forth, and actually be able to fight Denmark in a naval invasion. So now that that's done, I'm going to pause the recording. See you guys in a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. So as you can see, I now have the ability to drop a claim down here on Blekking, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, because I am now able to start moving through the rest of my mission tree, and by doing so, I will have a CB on Denmark. Do not click this mission until much later. I will tell you when to. The reason why is you will have a CB for Restoration of Union on Denmark that you don't want to use until much later. You will click this when you actually declare war. For now, though, what you're going to be doing is pulling back all your diplomats, and you're going to be getting currying favors with any allies that you have to bring them in a single war against Denmark for now. If you want to get this a little bit faster, you start off with a discounted diplomatic reputation advisor. Also pick him up, you can afford him, and that will get you a little faster currying favors with them because you'll have a slightly higher diplomatic reputation. So just wait a couple of years, and then you'll be going after them. If you feel like they will not have a strong navy at all, so for instance, you only have Poland and Scotland willing to help you out, they're not going to have a strong navy, so you may need to click this to get the extra morale of navies. In this instance, I don't think I'm going to need it. However, if you do feel the need to, click it once you declare after you have the curry favors done. So I'm going to pause the recording again. See you guys in just a second when it's time to declare, and I'll show you what I'm going after and then the end result. See you in a second. And welcome back, everybody. So since you guys last saw me, unfortunately, Burgundy has decided to attack Provence. Because of that, even though I have currying favors, they're not willing to come in. So I'm going to be going ahead and declaring on just them with Poland. However, I should be fine. The reason why is they don't really have anybody of any real strength except the Teutonic Order, which Poland and Lithuania should be able to handle quite easily. And their own personal unions are so disloyal, they're not going to be helping in this at all. Meaning I can go ahead and attack Denmark, and I shouldn't have any real problems. So that's what I'm going to do. If I end up finding myself needing help, as in needing more of a military force, I still have the ability, even during the war, to click this button. So if I feel like I need it, I should be fine, but I can always click the button. The reason why is because you should have roughly the same size of a navy compared to Denmark, but almost half of their navy should be light ships, which really don't have the ability to fight, and a couple of heavy ships, which, while dangerous, are going to be in an inland sea. Meaning your galleys should rip them apart. So, because of that, time to go ahead and attack, and you're going after Bornholm, and you're going to be just aiming to take this one province. If you can get it and war reps, all the better, but all you really need at this moment is Bornholm. So don't try and push beyond that point. With that being said, I'm going to pause the recording because I need to actually fight this fight, and I'll see you guys when I'm done. And for this video, I'm giving away a CD key for Hell Let Loose, a brutal World War II first-person shooter set with massive battles of 50 versus 50 in actual real-world maps using aerial photography that doesn't have the handicaps like Battlefield has, such as kill cams or little reticles that tell you when you hit somebody. So you actually have to have skill to play the game. If you want a copy of this, just comment Omaha Beach below. I'll pick a comment at random after a couple of hours, and if you're lucky, you'll be one that gets a copy of Hell Let Loose. So, let's go ahead and get back to the guide. And welcome back, everybody. So that war is now over. Unfortunately, my fleet got pretty devastated in that because I kept rolling zeros against nines, which was really, really bad. But on top of that, every time I would engage Denmark, for whatever reason, even though Norway is very disloyal, they kept sending their navy over to reinforce, which they usually don't, but they did in this game. So if you have that happening, absolutely click this button. It's the only real way you're going to have a chance, and try and pick off small fleets when they come to blockade you. By doing so, I was able to slowly whittle them down, and then go in and blockade their capital, and that was enough after enough of a war for them to peace out. Sweden will usually declare independence, or an independence war, during your fight, no matter who you have as allies. So if that happens, it's still fine. They're just simply taking them out of the fight, and usually they will not have any solid allies, because you already picked them up that would have supported their independence, and then you declared on Denmark, which broke any support independence they had of Sweden, meaning now Sweden is an easy target. They may pick up allies later, but they're not necessarily going to be the strongest ones, and you will still have Poland and Burgundy or whoever it happens to be to help you fight Sweden later. For now, I need to rebuild my navy because I have to go back after Denmark and build up an army so I'm at least on parity with their size, so probably 10 to 12. Now, I will point out, as you can see here, Denmark in that amount of time has integrated Holstein. The advantage of doing this is twofold. One, you will now be able to take all of Holstein without anybody really in the HRE getting mad at you. And on top of that, since I'm going to be joining the HRE, that's why I took Bornholm to move my capital over, giving me the range to join the HRE. Even if they're in it, nobody's going to stop you, and nobody's going to care. Because you will either have Denmark as a personal union, giving them their cores back, or you will be Denmark taking your cores back. If they do not integrate them, they start off with this core in Schleswig, meaning you can still attack them, but you will not have one in Holstein, meaning you'll have to still leave them in Holstein as a normal vassal and integrate them later, or deal with the unlawful territory debuff. At this point, though, it's time to unpause because I need to get things cored up, move my capital, join the HRE, etc., which is why I am currently improving relations with Austria. But I'll see you guys in just a second. And welcome back, everybody. So the truce with Denmark is now up. Unfortunately, yeah, they have rebels down here that's probably going to make Burgundy get free from me, but I'll be able to come after them later. But let's go ahead and get this declared. I'm calling in Poland and Stettin because I can, and I'm going to be promising Austria land. If you have anybody that will come in on this war where you're actually going to get Denmark as a personal union, promise them land. The reason why is because it doesn't matter. Because once you kill this mission, you get them for free, no aggressive expansion, and on top of that, it just ends the war. So you promised Austria land, but you're never going to have to actually give them any, because their war is just going to end. So now that that's done, I'll get my guys up with some morale, and then I'll go in there, secure Denmark, and then I'll be able to go after Sweden. So I'll see you guys in a little bit, and hopefully, Austria or Poland will come down here and quickly siege this out, but I'm not exactly hopeful. So, see you guys in a little bit. Welcome back, everybody. So as you can see, Denmark is having a really bad time of it because not only did they lose their two personal unions, but they lost over half of their land in their independence wars, and now I'm taking them as a personal union myself. Burgundy, on the other hand, I got really fortunate. The moment I declared, they got military access through France, beelined it down to their capital, and unsieged it through a lot of lucky rolls, and then took out the pretender rebels. While they are still disloyal, which means they're not going to be helping me do anything at all, they are still going to remain a personal union, which is always nice. However, now it's time to simply end this war. Once I click this, now Denmark is in a They white peace, so I don't have Austria mad at me. But on top of that, they become a personal union, and I get some restoration of Union CBs on Norway and Sweden, which I'm immediately going to pivot over into attacking, because, well, Sweden is at war with Muscovy, and I want to end up stopping Muscovy from taking as much of this land as possible, and I'll also be able to get Denmark their cores back, which means once I become Denmark, I will have more of the land myself. On top of that, they really don't exactly have an army capable of stopping me, so I'm going to be taking advantage. But let's go ahead and declare, immediately get our troops ready to go, and I'm going to need military access through Norway because they took Gotland, which is oh so lovely. But I'm going to go ahead and fight this, and I'll see you guys in a little bit once I have Sweden, and then I'm going to immediately go in and attack Norway and get them under a personal union as well. So I'll see you guys once all that is done. And welcome back. So now that I'm at peace, I ended up getting this event, which is the Return of Holstein. If you go this down bottom option here, the Emperor has the choice of either forcing you to, and then you'll take prestige penalties, or they will declare war on you. Or you can just go with the top option, and you will release Holstein back into the world. They'll get some imperial authority, but you also gain 1 stability. Now again, Denmark gets to keep their cores. So there is no reason to not let Holstein go and then immediately turn back around and take the cores back, because it's only about 4 or 5 aggressive expansion. So take the free stability. Yes, they're getting some imperial authority, but it doesn't really matter that much. And use that to then come back in and take these, as opposed to risking the prestige loss or fighting what will likely be Austria, but in my case, it's just the Palatinate. So I'm going to go ahead and take these guys back, and as you can see, though I have Norway and Sweden under control, yeah, Muscovy did quite a bit of damage. They released Sapmi, they took some bits for Karelia, they took over half of Finland, and released the rest of it, being Finland. So I have to go back in here and take care of this stuff later, but I do have Sweden under control, as well as Norway, and as soon as I can get up to 2 stability and 95 legitimacy, I will become Denmark, giving me all of the benefits of Denmark with a fully loyal Norway and Sweden. So I'll see you guys in just a second when I get to that point. And welcome back, everybody. So I was able to get the +2 stability and 95 legitimacy to complete the back and control mission, which lets me become Denmark. So what this does is I integrate Denmark and then I become Denmark, which is very nice because you get the Danish mission tree, but you get a couple of other nice bonuses too, including negative 200 liberty to desire for both Sweden and Norway, meaning they're going to be loyal pretty much no matter what you do. On top of that though, until the end of the game, you get negative 25 liberty desire in any subject. So normal vassals, marches, personal unions, all of them. You also get +1 monarch administrative skill. So you will not really have much problem, or not as much problems, pouring or getting admin ideas for the rest of the game, and negative 25 nobility influence, meaning you're going to be able to grant a whole lot more of the nobility privileges than you normally would be able to without any problem. You, on top of that, get the Kalmar Union government reform. And with the Danish mission tree, you'll be able to upgrade this to be able to have personal unions integratable within 10 years of getting them, meaning Burgundy will be integrated. And on top of that, extra advisors, diplomatic relations slots, all of it. So you get a lot of very, very strong things playing as Denmark now. Now, as you can see, I do have some money problems, but just make sure that you consolidate your regiments and get rid of your extra galleys, because you're not really going to be needing them at this point. Now, as far as your actual economy, you do have all these extra Danish provinces. Don't forget to make them into actual states, because I've done that more than a few times. And you do lose the extra income you get from the Emperor's Treasury mission once you get rid of either Holstein or enough time passes. That's how I ended up with a bunch of loans, making me almost hitting bankruptcy, simply because it took me longer than that gives me. It gives you about 25 years. It took me 30, so I had a lot of loans coming in while fighting both Norway and Sweden. Speaking of Norway and Sweden, I did this about 90 times to make sure all of this worked, and it worked very consistently. And during that time, Norway declared independence twice. Once during this run. So you should be able, when you get Denmark as a personal union, pick up Norway as well, meaning that both of them will help you fight Sweden to get them, and it's usually not that big of a deal to fight Sweden unless they've picked up some strong allies. And again, as long as you declare on them when you declare on Denmark, if they are allied to the same people, and they usually will be because they are rivals to Denmark, they're not going to remain allies, meaning Sweden's usually going to be alone. Now, in those 90 runs, Sweden only lost their territory about 5 to 10 times, so it's pretty rare. But you do need to keep in mind one critical thing here. If Muscovy or anybody else takes the land directly, Sweden does usually keep those cores. However, if it is a province that is released to another country, for example Sapmi or Finland, they lose those cores unless it is also a Swedish culture province, which they're not when they release to Sapmi or Finland. So you're going to have to conquer these directly. Again, it's not exactly overly common, but it does happen enough where it's good to be aware that you're going to have to fight them directly and take the land that way and pay the increased aggressive expansion to do so. But now, since you are Denmark, you can watch the Denmark guide if you need help with what you do with Denmark. But basically, you have whatever you choose to do as to how you play the game. You want to go into the British Isles? You have missions for that. You want to go into Germany? You are now in the HRE, which normal Denmark doesn't get to do without becoming the Emperor, meaning you're able to expand into the HRE without having to rely on this mission here, forcing them to attack you. You want to push into Russia? You absolutely can. You want to go colonial? Again, you absolutely can. So going from a one-province minor into one of the great powers with massive bonuses to a diplomatic game or to a colonial game or anything else you want to do is incredibly strong, because that negative 25 liberty, desire, and subjects also apply to colonies, which is very, very nice. Now, as you can see here, I do still have Burgundy being disloyal because they're being supported in independence by a couple of people that don't like me. If you're having difficulty keeping people in check, even with that 25%, remember you are Denmark, so you have the Danish subject loyalty here for another 30%, and you can even go into the influence ideas for another 15, giving you a total of, if my math is correct, 70% liberty desire reduction, meaning you're usually going to be able, from your subjects, to take their trade, take everything from them, and they usually won't even be that disloyal, if at all. So use this to your advantage and take over the entirety of Europe using diplomatic means if possible, and if not, then taking them aggressively. Do be sure to keep going in here to the influence tab, because if you can pick up people as a free vassal, absolutely do so. Though if you are reconquering cores for Denmark from Norway or Sweden in this personal union over Denmark war, it's going to be a lot more difficult simply because you're taking them back without the right CB, so you are getting a lot of aggressive expansion doing so, meaning that people aren't going to like you, meaning that you're going to not be able to pick them up early, so just be aware of that. The last bit of advice I can give you is that if you are going to be pushing to the east at all, try and find one of these provinces that still have Novgorodian cores on them, because as you can see, there are a lot of provinces here that you can reconquer, and considering the fact you have a lot of benefits to taking vassals and keeping them loyal, etc., taking Novgorod is going to be a very beneficial thing for you, because then you can just keep them having the land and still get all the trade power out of them, allowing you to make a lot of money without having to pay for the coring. And if you do want to conquer things after that, you have the +1 admin points to help pay for it. The last thing to keep in mind is if you are having economic problems, do be sure to do these two missions by getting to 150 opinion with Norway and Sweden as soon as possible, because by giving them an extra 50 liberty desire, which still will not even register as being any liberty desire here, you're able to get a lot of economic bonuses for your provinces simply by doing that, so long as they exist. And then by the time they are integrated, you will no longer have any economic issues, and you're going to start scaling out of control. But with all that being said, that's all you guys really need to know about playing as Gotland as a monarchy. Now, if you like this kind of guide, or if you are going to want to have future guides, like and subscribe. I will definitely be making more in the future. Though, again, as I said before with the channel news, they might be slower in coming out in the future, just because of my time schedule. If you want me to cover anything in particular, do let me know in a comment below, simply because I'm going to try and get a lot of guides, the things that I already know, such as the Pope and Naples, into guides that I can record, so I am at least able to get more out there in case I do need to take extra time doing other things in the immediate future. So let me know what else you want me to cover anywhere else in the world, because I'm not looking at regions. I want to know what you guys want to actually see, so I at least have it done, or I can start the process while I have the time. With all of that being said, though, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.